We're shedding our masks and breaking down walls. Hell, we may even drop our drawers. That's right. We're going Commando with Angela and Dana. Hi, my name is Dana Sardano, and this is Angela DeMarco, and we are going Commando. Going Commando is a little show that we put together because we understand the importance of authenticity. As Angela sucks up a huge snot right before I start talking, we understand the importance of stepping into your greatness and embracing it and bringing it to the world. And we're hoping by doing so, we encourage you to do the same. Oh, you're so
I'm so pretty. Hey, this is me, right? I'm singing The Greatest Showman in my head. I'm not going to.
That's what I heard as soon as you said it. I'm like, this is me.
Look out, world, because here I come, and I'm marching to the beat of my drum. no
Thumbs go up.
Sorry.
Oh my god! I
You're just in the lane.
Yeah. I have to tell you this. I totally forgot about this. As I'm driving Yaya to camp this morning, talking about authenticity and being who you are, she's 13. So no matter what I say, she's like, Mom,
Yeah,
So I'm talking to her and I think I'm adorable, and she's just like, why do you have to be like that? And I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm like, you mean like the ick? Am I giving you the ick? She's like, yeah, that's it, the ick. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, how do I give you the ick? I'm like, do I give you the ick like the way I look? Or like now I'm getting like insecure about it. She's like mean girl me. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, definitely in public. She goes, when you're like. And I was like, oh, and she goes, yeah. She goes, the ick. She goes, I can't think. I'm like, give me an example. She's like, I can't think of one. And I'm like, so now I'm getting mad. I'm like, just give me an example. And she's like, I don't know. I can't think of one. And I'm like, and then under my breath as I'm driving, I'm like, maybe. And I'm like, I go, well, maybe you give me the ick. And she goes, ick. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh my God, she is so you. She is your mini version of you.
100%. 100%. So we're driving to camp, and every little thing she'd be like, blah blah blah. I'm like, ick. And I'm like, and she's like, ick. You know what I mean? Like she gets out of the car and we're like yelling ick at each other. So yeah, welcome to authenticity.
Well, I'm sorry. Yesterday, well, I think it's hilarious. You're doing something wrong if you're not, right?
That's what I thought. I'm like, I'm trying to be like, yes, mom. Yes, Yaya. I totally understand that I'm your mother, but someday you're gonna get it. Meanwhile, inside, I'm like, she thinks I'm icky.
Well, yesterday Christian came home from school. He was awesome. Like he was like all happy. He had a great day. He was friends with his nemesis yesterday. So it's always a good day when the two of them get along, right? Mm-hmm. And he walks in like, we got along today, whatever. And then he's in the bath and Maddie walks up, and the minute like the energy shifts between like her to me or whatever, mm-hmm. He starts calling me a loser and splashing water at me. So I got mad, and then he spit at me, and then I picked his naked body up out of the tub, threw a towel on him, put him in his room naked. And I was like, I didn't want to be near you right now. I need a minute. I need time out. And I threw his clothes in there, and he's throwing his clothes out. He's like, I'm not getting dressed. So he's like sprawled out on his floor naked, and I'm just like ignoring him. And I'm like, because we were going out. And I was like, I gotta get ready for the dinner. Getting ready for the dinner. As I'm leaving, I'm like, I love you anyway. I love you no matter what.
My God. Parenting advice by Dana and Angela. Folks, you want
listen to us. We know it all.
We know. Oh my goodness. So why we here? Miss Angela?
I'm sorry, my eye is tearing. I guess because I'm very third eye right now.
Oh my God. Before we started, you're like,
I know. What the hell? That's because I went making out with my garden this morning. So I'm all like,
So hot.
It's hot. I know. I'm so hot. Okay, everybody. Hi. So
thanks for coming.
To our program. We are in season 6 of Balance. And during this season, we are discussing all the chakras and how it practically applies to your wellness, your ability to enjoy life. And we started with the root, and we went kind of like we're going through the 7 chakras that are part of the body. And starting with those foundational ones, the root, sacral, and solar plexus, all up till like the age of 21. And anything that kind of like happened to you around that age, like just growing up, it really shows how like it affects your ability to love, your ability to speak your truth, your ability to see the big picture and all of that stuff, which is kind of where we're at now. And we're using Dana's book, Veda Finds Her Crown. And it's this beautiful story that Dana wrote and illustrated. She's got these characters that represent the seven chakras, and they go on this adventure. And it's this a whimsical story that really was written for children 10 to 13, 14 years old. Adults can read it. It's a short story. It's like an Alice in Wonderland kind of, story thing. And then in the back of the book, so if you wanted to do some work, in the back of the book, there's this great journaling for each of the sections, which kind of goes along with what we're doing in these episodes. So if you wanted to follow along, if you wanted to do the work for yourself, like if it resonates with you, look for the second edition on Amazon or go to phenom-publishing.com and grab yourself a copy. It's work you can do on your own. You don't have to talk to anybody. You can hide under the covers. Nobody has to know how you're feeling. You don't have to know your traumas that come up. But if you are doing the work and you do have any questions and you want to, just feel free to comment. And even if you want to comment to be like, hey, I have a question, it's personal, we'll send you our email, like we'll respond and we can have conversations with Dana or myself or both of us. We're happy to help you kind of like work through this stuff, because when you do this work, life becomes magical. It just becomes magical. It's or as the end of Den Rex, you say, it's just so fucking beautiful.
So fucking
so fucking beautiful.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I feel that in my bones. So today we're talking like some cooler, like big picture witchy stuff, right? So with that, Dane?
So today we're talking about the third eye chakra, and just to what Angela was saying about how these foundational chakras, they affect the upper chakras. So have your foundational ones, like you mentioned, your root, your solar plexus, your sacral, not necessarily in that order. And then your upper chakras are your heart, your throat, your third eye, and your crown. And as your foundation is strong and healthy and balanced, these begin to open up. You begin to be able to love without condition or expectation, to forgive, have gratitude, not have resentments and hold judgment. You begin to live authentically and set boundaries and communicate beautifully and respectfully. And then your third eye begins to open up. And a lot of the times people, when they think about the third eye, they think, ooh, that's psychic and witchy and magical. But essentially, your third eye is just your level of clarity, your level of discernment, your vision, your imagination, your intuition, your ability to see the big picture, your ability to understand the parts that create the whole, the ability to dream or to have a vision and to understand the steps how to get there. And when you have that clarity and that discernment's a big one. Discernment's a big
Yeah.
And when you have an open heart, you discern. When your heart is closed, you judge. There's a difference there. So it's all connected. But when you have that level of discernment and have that level of vision, your natural tendencies, your natural gifts, your natural inclinations will expand, and it will appear magical to others. But essentially, it's an extension and an expansion of your true essence. The third eye is amazing.
Third eye is amazing. Third eye is amazing. And, because we're on Commando, we tried to record yesterday. So there's a bunch of stuff where I'm like, oh, say that again, because we had some technical difficulties. So there were so many good things that Dana said yesterday that I really would like you to kind of cover again. And the first one being, I thought this was so brilliant. Because you're a career educator before before you did the artist track, before you did the jump ship to the artist track, and now you're jump ship to the entrepreneur track and the whatever the hell we're doing now.
All the things we're doing, all the
things that are so fun. But you have this beautiful perspective of being like in the classroom, right? Where children are kind of like suppressed and like it's cookie cutter and it's whatever. And the way that you understand how people learn is a huge part of all of this. So I'd love for you to go into that part of it again.
So here's the thing, I'm going to give you my present perspective and how I got here. When I was in the gallery, again, running the gallery for 4 years, one of the the most prominent questions, or the most prevalent questions that people would say when they came in to either come to a workshop or to work with me individually was, how do I expand my gifts? How do I evolve my gifts? Because people get touches of it, because we have touches of it. I had prophetic dreams 20 years ago, but you just, it's kind of like here and there, and sort of, it's not a part of you. It's just kind of, it feels random.
Yeah.
Or people, oh, I heard my grandmother, or I smelled rose petals for no reason. Like, people have had these experiences, and they don't realize that so they come in and they want to expand their gifts, but what they don't realize is they have to first work on themselves. So it got me thinking about how, when I was in the classroom, we all have these natural ways of learning. We all have these natural ways of being, and that's why we see these certain aspects of ourselves. So I had kids in the classroom, like, my background was in differentiated instruction and behavioral modification. So I had to understand what made the child tick and how they learned. So some kids learn auditorily, like, especially like musicians, you know what I mean? Like, you are definitely an auditory, you're visual as well, but you have that auditory nature to you. So I would give a lecture, or I would, we would listen to music or watch a movie or something like that where they could hear it. When we would read the books, I would play it so they could hear it as well. You know what I mean? I would play it at the time on tape. Oh my God, going back a billion years.
We're old.
Right? But visual, sometimes the kids need to see it. Sometimes it's visual and auditory. So I would write on the board and I would speak to them. Sometimes it's kinesthetic. They need to do a project, or they need to actually write notes. They need to read the book and glean. So there's these different types of learning. So when you think about what your greatest strength was in the classroom, how you receive and perceive information, those will likely become your spiritual gifts as you work out all the gunk, find your clarity, and that will expand.
I
Make
think that's
sense?
so, yeah, it's so awesome. So for me, I know that, like, I couldn't just sit and listen to a lecture. Let's talk calculus. Concepts were hard for me. I would get lost. I literally have to write. I have to work it out to understand it. Like, I have to experience
Experience. Yep.
to integrate. Yes, I can listen to something I'm interested in, like listening to Bashar. Yeah, I'll listen to Bashar all day long because
Yep.
I'm so interested. So I take in the information and I integrate it. But if
Mhm.
it's not something I'm interested in, no, no.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because they talk about kids that have ADHD, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ADHD in the 80s predominantly became like a thing. We're going to medicate these kids, and these kids can't stay still and they can't focus. But one of the symptoms of ADHD was, yeah, kids can't maintain focus, but if it really interests them, they're hyper focused. So
So they
I
can.
so they can focus.
They can focus. So they can focus.
So they can focus. So it's not about the kid's ability to focus. It's about understanding how to appeal to that kid's nature to assist in better focusing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Of course, if
Yes.
you, Angela, can't focus on something is boring, then why would you throw a kid that has those type of sensitivities inside a classroom where they have to sit for 8 hours and they have to, read, write, arithmetic, or whatever it is? Well, I mean, we could do a whole other show on that, but
Yeah.
but really, we all have our own sensitivities, and we sometimes have heightened sensitivities. And for the children, when the adults in our lives don't understand these heightened sensitivities, sometimes we think that there's something wrong with the child, and then we try to fix it. And the reality is, we need to meet the child where the child is and teach them how to cope in the environment, in the world we live in, but still embracing, uplifting, and engaging their sensitivities. And
Oh
if
my
we could
God.
do that, we would bring up a generation of healthy, happy, whole, balanced children, young adults into adulthood.
Yeah, yeah. And we did talk about this yesterday, and I want to reiterate it, that I would like to do maybe a special episode where we just talk about children and the medication and all that kind of stuff to help parents understand, because I was one of those, right? I had Maddie, and she was diagnosed ADD, by a psychiatrist. She was having the hardest time. She was having the hardest time. She couldn't focus in school. She was having nightmares. She was seeing shadow figures as she slept, like all the things that witchy kids see, right? Like all these things. But I didn't understand because I wasn't in this world yet. And so the psychiatrist was like, we'll put her on medication. She'll be focused. And I was like, okay. And then we put her on the medication. Then COVID happened. She's home from like now and home from school, but she's
Yeah.
hyper focused and doing her work, and she loved it. Right, she no longer had the stimuli. She was able to focus, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. The medicine's amazing. And I always had this inclination, like I just want to get her on the medication so she knows what it feels like to focus, and then pull the medication away and teaching her how to get to that place. You know what I mean? But it kind of like ran away from us. And then a year later, yada, 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 here she is now kind of like addicted to the medicine because
Mm-hmm.
she feels too flighty. And that's when you stepped in and you helped her with this work, with Veda, with this work. We got her off the medication. You helped her figure out what was a gift, not to be not to be destroyed, not to be like squelched, not to be
Numbed.
numb, to put her light out. That guy Matt, remember Matt? He said he called it all day dreamers. You know, like you're taking these children who have like these visions and this big thing, and they're thinking everything's possible, and they're just floating all over the place. So instead of giving them like the tools to ground them and the tools to do those things, we're medicating them, we're numbing them, and then we're forcing them to fit in the box.
To fit
And
in the box.
yeah, and so my Maddie is thriving. She's a thriving 19-year-old now, and she's not on medication. And it's almost like I wish I knew, but it's nice to have both perspectives, right? I put my
Yeah.
kid on
Yeah.
medication because I didn't know, and now, but if she was on medication right now, she would not be a film major. She would not be writing these beautiful movies and scripts and exploring her creativity and being like the awesome person that she is. She would be numb. She would be blocked off from the world.
Yep. And that those sensitivities that she's got that made it challenging and difficult for her in, with certain stimuli, those sensitivities are her gifts. And
Yeah.
here's the thing, and I think for anybody who's watching who maybe doesn't have children, maybe they're looking at themselves and trying to figure out where they fit into all of this. At the end of the day, everything is about balance and imbalance. Everything. Balance and imbalance with the things that we do, but balance and imbalance within ourselves. So yes, it's great that Maddie, was a dreamer, and it was great that she was. I don't want to use the word flighty, but just kind of like out there and had difficult focus. That's beautiful because it's part of that open mindedness. It's part of the imagination, the ability to be and just be in the now and enjoy life. But when that's out of balance, she can't function in our society.
Yeah.
So the idea is to bring her back to balance. But what the medication did for her is it brought her all the way over here. So
Yes.
there's got to be some sort of happy medium. And I think when we the people who are rearing these children in whatever way that we are, whether the teachers, the mentors, the parents, whatever it is, just to recognize, okay, what is the child, what are the people, what do we need? Okay, we need to function in this situation. We need to be able to pay a bill. We need to, whatever, be in a healthy relationship, keep a roof over. These are the things we need to do. Okay, what do I have? Ooh, I have heightened sensitivities and I have trouble focusing and I have all these things. How do we meet these things in the middle? How can we be the most authentic, healthy, balanced version of ourselves and still function? Not fit
Mm-hmm.
in, because we don't have to
Yes.
fit in, but
Right.
function, and to do that feeling safe and secure and grounded, from the rooter to the tutor.
From the rooter to the tutor,
Yeah.
and then that's so awesome. And so we, if anybody hasn't wants to us to explore that further, feel free to comment. I mean, even adults who have diagnosed ADD, you know what I mean, you can still, like, this is something that can be cured, it could be overcome, it could be understood in a different way, so that
Yeah.
you are
Yep.
using your gifts and embracing you're weird. Essentially, that's what it's all about, is embracing your weird. That's what I call the
Yeah.
gifts, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I just want to just make a point about me personally. I was not diagnosed in school with ADHD because nobody cared.
Me too. Me too. I probably would have been in the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
situation, but nobody was
100%,
fucking paying
100%.
attention.
But as an adult who made this was my career, and first of all, well, as an adult who made a career of this, I had taken the test. I took the WISC and the Wechsler and the Woodcock Johnson and all of these tests that we use. They're basically their achievement tests and oh, potential, like IQ tests and stuff like that. I
Okay.
can't think of the other word, but you put these tests together and you get a sense of what the kid's strengths and weaknesses. I've taken all these tests as a part of what I do, and oh my god, check, 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 all the symptoms. But what I did as a child, because I was misunderstood, is I self-medicated, I
Mm,
self-soothed, and we
mm,
see a lot of that as well. So what's happening is when the child, when even you as a child think about, like, if you had these tendencies, if you didn't fit in, if you didn't feel safe, all of the things, think about what you did to feel better if you didn't learn proper coping mechanisms, proper ways to process your emotions, proper ways to adjust to the stimuli.
mm.
And that's what's happening, and that's what this work is all about. That's why we do this,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well said.
Yep.
Well said.
Yeah.
So the other thing that we were talking about yesterday, so weird. We're just gonna get you guys up to speed here. Um, we were talking about how the third eye is being able to see the big picture. It's the expansion of your gifts. And the gifts are not necessarily like I see dead people. The gifts are like I can just kind of read the energy. I can, like I can walk in the room, and that's a gift. That's a gift
That's
that
a
you may be
gift.
taking for granted. So you have these beautiful gifts, and you were talking about your die. If you want to go into that, I
Yeah.
love that so much. I actually want to make one. I'm like, whoa,
Okay.
what would be on mine?
It's so funny, because when I did bring this up, Angela was like, "Oh my god, you never talked about this before.
I know.
What else?
There's
What else
something new.
don't I know about you? You know what I mean?"
I thought
But
I knew
but
you.
this is the way I look at us as human beings coming into this world. So we come into this world with something that we need to learn. Like we were like, okay, I need to overcome adversity. I need to learn self-worth. I need to learn how to paint, whatever it is. And we all have some sort of plan when we come here. And all of our plans look different depending on what, we want to focus on. I always was under the misconception. This was before my gallery days, before I got, really involved in the woo. But I was under the misconception that people who had these really magical capabilities, like I know people who could read auras, I know people who are trance channels, people who, connect with, the dead, people who do really, really cool things. I always made an assumption that if they had these really cool and exciting gifts, that they also had a real grip on what was going on in the world, and like just grounded and together and focused and all these things, because those what I just described were my gifts. You know what I mean? So I just assumed in order to be here, like it was a prerequisite, like you worked up to these gifts. And what I learned was that's not necessarily the case. So the way I perceived it is like a giant die, like an 18-sided die, right? And so like I may be strong I may read auras, but yet in this lifetime, I need to work on better relationships. Being more compassionate relationships. I may be able to speak to dead people, but I may have to work on being more grounded and feeling safer in my environment. So they're not a prerequisite. They're just different aspects of ourselves that we work on at different times. Now, if I can read auras and I work on my groundedness, then of course my my ability to read auras is going to expand.
Yeah.
But the realization that I got with all of this was when we decide to go to readers, go to psychics, go to mediums, go to aura readers, go to trance channels, whoever it is, Reiki healers, even whoever it is we're going to assist us in our growth, it's important that we recognize and remember that we are all human beings. So they may have really cool messages, but their message will always come through the filter of who they are.
Mm.
So if it doesn't if it doesn't resonate completely, just remember that it's coming through a filter, and we just need to be aware that we're all human beings, even the psychics, even the readers, even we're all human beings. And that's why it's so important that we become in tune with ourselves and empower ourselves, and open up our discernment as much as we can, so the messages are nice and it's fun, but to recognize that at the end of the day, we know best if we have clarity. That was a lot.
Yes.
That was a
No, that
lot.
was really good. And you know what? I was just thinking, your visualization gifts. That's my thing. That's my jam. And
Yeah.
now you're doing it. It's like
Yeah.
really cool. You know, it's
Yeah.
really really
Yeah.
cool that you're there, because that's like my soul hears your soul.
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing,
Yeah.
Angela. I always have considered myself clairvoyant. My clairvoyance just looked differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I have touches of visualization, but
Yeah.
my clairvoyance comes in just a knowing and understanding of seeing the big picture or whatever shows up in my dreams. You know what I mean? But those
Yeah.
little visualization things are just they're becoming a part of my repertoire, I think.
I know. I
You know what I
love it.
mean?
I love it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out too that it's not necessarily just like it's not just about those who you go seek to get your messages, the psychics, the mediums. This is your coaches, your mentors,
Oh, you
because
make
these
such a
are
good
their
point.
gifts, right? Like
Yeah.
this is their gift. Someone's a mentor. I'm a brand mentor. That's my thing. It's one of my things. One of my freaking millions of things. So I'm somebody that, like, if you are a new starting a new business or whatever, and you can't afford to get your branding stuff, I kind of mentor you through doing it yourself. You know, just like a little bird on the shoulder giving you advice. It's coming through my filter of my experiences, you know. So sometimes I may think that you can do something, or I have had a bad banged up experience in the past that you would run into. I would have that filter as I'm sharing my advice with you. So you made a point yesterday about how it's really important to get to know the human behind these things, right? To
Yeah.
really connect on a human level so that you understand. It's not a judgment. Like, you know, like if I'm a divorce lawyer, but I had a very bitter divorce myself, you know, and it's important to kind of know that, because there's going to be a certain, like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he did that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it's really good to understand. So take the time to get to know the human that you're working with, just so you can, like, understand where it's coming from, because some of the stuff may not be relative to you, but the
Yeah.
messages and the gifts are still there. The talent is still there. We're not saying to negate that at all, but some things that work for the person who's providing the service may not work for, you know, it's something. So we can say, like, there are throw a rock and you've got a brand mentor out there, but we're all different, right?
Or
We're
a
all
life
different too.
coach.
Or a life coach, you know,
Yeah.
or anything. But, like, you know, there are so many people that do what we do, but again, it's just a matter of, like, who do you resonate with? Because you'll either have had this shared experiences and it's able to, like, understand at a different level, or they're going to have, like, a completely different lifestyle and think completely different from you, and it's not going to resonate, so you're not going to get what you need out of it.
You know, as you're talking, all I keep thinking is everything goes back to that level of discernment. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And let's just use your experience, you know, over, like, we'll even just say the last 6 months to a year,
Mm.
how your level of discernment has shifted so much. The
Yeah.
level of discernment, the ability to recognize who is in alignment with you, who could best, you know, serve you, who would work in a healthy symbiotic relationship. That discernment that is in the third eye comes from having a healthy, balanced heart chakra, comes from feeling worthy, comes from feeling safe and grounded, comes from having your own personal integrity because your words match your deeds, comes from all that. So
Mm.
sometimes that level of discernment, you may, you know, how do I know? Same thing with the guy, right? How do I know? How do I know if he's the one? How do I know? How do I know? Well, you
Right.
don't know if there's tremendous imbalances. But the moment
Yes.
you have imbalance, or you're in balance, your discernment opens up and you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're kind of, you know, like talking about how they're, you know, not all doctors are awesome. Not all coaches are awesome. It's not that they're not awesome. They're awesome for somebody else. They may not be in alignment with you.
Mm.
Your ability to detect who is in alignment with you comes from your discernment, comes from the health and wellness of everything up through that third eye.
Yes. 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 So well said. Um, before we kind of wrap up this episode, um, Yes, it's all focused on the lower chakras, but what are some things like that are reflective that people can kind of start to think about for having an imbalanced third eye chakra? Like what does that look like specifically, you know?
So when your third eye is imbalanced, you've kind of lost the ability to dream, to envision a future, to imagine, what you want or what it would be like. It's almost kind of like it's when the third eye is imbalanced, like when other chakras are imbalanced, it's like it's either this or this. The third eye is just like you're just kind of like lacking.
Mhm.
You're no longer, again, open to the dream. You no longer have the ability or the understanding that there are parts to a whole. You become very myopic, and it's like, when something happens, it's like, oh my God, like everything is like, a fire, like urgency around this. When you have the third eye, you could pull back because you could see the big picture and go, okay, maybe there's pieces that I don't understand. Maybe there's something that's going to this. Maybe there's a reason for this. And you know what I mean? Like you have
Yeah,
more
yeah.
of an ability to see things in a way that create less urgency,
Mm.
clarity. And so when you
Mm.
lack clarity, what does that look like? You worry all the time. What does that look like? You're quick, you may be quick to anger. All these things that are reflective of imbalanced lower chakras, but that's how it affects it. So an
Yeah.
imbalanced third eye chakra, it's almost like you could have apathy. This is like this with the crown also. Apathy. You could be prone to addiction because
Mm.
you've kind of given up on
Mm.
that childlike way about you. Because the third eye is really, when it's open, you kind of revert almost to that childlike version of yourself
Yeah, because you feel safe to do so.
because you feel safe to do so.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And like the gut, like the discernment, like listening to your gut, listening to your intuition in situations, relying on other people to make decisions for you, or to,
Yep.
not being able to be
Yep.
like, how do I feel in this moment, but more like, what do you think?
Yep.
And
Because you don't
then
know how you feel because you're disconnected from that.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
100%. 100%.
yes.
It's next week when we do the questions, when we ask ourselves the questions, if
Mhm.
time permits, we can talk a little bit more about the different levels of not the discernment, but of like the giftedness. Like,
Okay.
what does clairaudience look like? What does clairvoyance look like? Clairsentience. Clairsentience is huge, and so many of us have it. It's the ability just to feel. Like
Mm.
I could feel. I remember in the gallery once. I actually walked through fear. I swear to God. I swear to God. There was like this whole thing, like somebody knocked down my stuff, and I like walked in and I was trying to figure out what it is. And I walked through the energy of fear. It wasn't like a thought that created fear. I was like, I'm scared. I'm scared. Why am I scared? I'm scared. But I could feel
Yeah,
fear. It
yeah,
was crazy. It was crazy. Oh my God,
yeah.
the things I experienced in the gallery.
Yeah, because you had a lot of witchy stuff going on in
It
that
was
joint.
it was something. It's like I forget about it, and then I think about some of the stories, some of the stuff that I saw, that I experienced. I had a whole relationship. I had this one spirit kid that used to like that locked me and Anne Marie out. I'm like, son of a bitch, little spirit. Thought he was being funny. Locked us out. Thank God the front door was open. We had to go right. Yeah, yeah, crazy
Oh
stuff.
yeah, we could talk about that next week for sure, because that's the cool
That's
stuff,
the fun
right?
stuff.
That's
That's
the
the fun
fun
stuff.
stuff. That's the fun stuff
Yeah,
when you can be like, okay, let's have a little fun with this stuff.
yeah, yeah.
I accept my gifts. I accept that this is the world.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, can I just make one really, really important point?
Of course.
This is really, really important. What I mentioned earlier about how we come in with different gifts, it's like the sides of a die. So I may have certain spiritual gifts, even though I am not grounded, even though these are imbalanced. What happens is when these are, I may have this gift, but when these are imbalanced, and I may carry fear and worry and stuff like that, it affects this gift, not
Yeah.
the intensity of the gift, but what I'm experiencing. So if I carry fear, I am in alignment with fear. So if I can see dead people, I may see scary stuff.
Mm,
But you know what I'm saying? So it's really
yes.
something to think about. Just because I have these gifts, and if this stuff isn't handled, it's funny because I've been given advice over the years about like how to protect myself, and I'm like, if I don't feel fear, there's nothing to protect myself from. and there's a lot of fear-laden spiritual stuff, like, oh, you have to hang this over your door and put the water under your bed and the light to this and carry this crystal and all these things to protect yourself. But if you're in alignment with feeling safe and strong and grounded and balanced and healthy and whole, there's no need for protection, and your gifts will reflect that, and you will see more of the beauty of the world. Your ability to see the beauty and the magic and the light magic, the white magic will expand as a result of this. I can't believe I almost, that's so, we should have opened with that.
That's a really important point. It's really important, because I'm like, now I'm thinking of all the things like in my life, like when I was like watching the news and everything was sucky and everything was going to be horrible and wiping my food down from the delivery with COVID, like all of it. You guys didn't do that in Florida? Like, we would get the food delivery, be like sanitizing all the packages.
Have we just met? I existed as if COVID, the only time I existed like COVID existed is when I got COVID. But I realized like what a giant douche I am. And I understood it was a thing, but like if I went into a place and I had to wear a mask, of course I wore the mask because that's what I was told to do. But everything that went with it, the beliefs around it, I was like, stupid.
Oh, I was in it.
Well, it shows, and now that's such a perfect example of the level of alignment.
Yeah.
Of alignment, because when COVID hit, I was already in that space of nothing can harm me now. You know what I mean? Like that. I was running the gallery. I opened the gallery in the fall of 2019.
Yeah.
And COVID hit here big time in like March of 2020. I was still having.
By the way, you can thank Dave for that, because we came down in March and he was so sick on the plane.
We brought COVID to Florida.
We brought COVID to Florida. COVID Dave.
Dave. But yeah, like I was having every 3 months in the gallery from the time I opened, I was having these featured artist receptions. And when COVID was a thing, I just put a bowl of masks. You want to wear a mask? Wear a mask.
Yeah.
You don't want to wear a mask? Wear a mask. You're in my house.
Yeah.
You're in my house. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I did things. And anybody who's watching, like, okay, judge me, feel free. But
fuck it.
That's the level of what I was aligned with. And I was not aligned with the fear that came with it. And even when I got COVID, I was like, I got sick. And then I got better.
You weren't even worried about Yaya.
She was in a heart condition, and she felt better than the rest of us.
I know.
But Rob, who the first time we got COVID, who was buying into it, he got super sick because he believed that he was going to die.
Yeah.
I just, as soon as I started to feel better, I wrote a freaking book.
I know. And we'll leave it at that. Do you want
Oh my God. Crazy like a fox. Okay. Let's go back. So we're not going to do the wheel because Angela brought to my attention that it's stupid. Yeah. When we have to move it to the place we want it, we might as well just say goodbye the way we want. So I have 5 cards in front of me. Pick number between 1 and 5.
2.
Oh, this is a good one.
Okay.
This is something that I actually used to do with my kids in my class. So yeah, it's a good one. Okay. This is Veda. Veda is the lead character. Veda finds her crown. She represents the third eye chakra. I am wise, intuitive, and connected to my inner guidance. The crystal is rainbow fluorite. That's a good one. I like rainbow fluorite. Okay. Recognize the cause and effect relationships in all situations. When you have an experience, pleasant or unpleasant, trace back the cause of each effect 5 times. With this practice, you will begin to recognize patterns in your experiences. You will begin to learn how the parts create the whole, allowing you to see the big picture. It's a good one, right?
It's good, but I'm a little confused about the cause and effect in 5 times. That doesn't.
Okay, so something happens to me. I get into a fight with Rob, right? So I ask myself, what did I do that caused this fight? What did I do? Oh, I talked about his mother. And then, okay, so what led me to talking about his mother?
Okay.
Oh, well, before that, she tends to butt into, I'm making all this up, by the way.
Oh, yeah, she's awesome.
Love you.
Love you, Alba.
I love you. Okay? But she tends to butt into our business. Oh, So that's the step back. So what leads to that? Oh, well, she feels that I'm not raising my kids properly. Oh, so what leads to that? Oh, me allowing my kid to do something at the table. So if I keep tracing it back, maybe I could find myself at the core of it. The core of it is I'm insecure about my parenting, and all she wants to do is love me, and she thinks she's helping, but because of my insecurities, I lash out. Boom, boom, boom. It turns into me being like your mother. Infatti sono gulimamana.
Yeah, I have to put that in the transcript for me. You were the Italian. I love when you bust it out, though.
Yeah. Oh my God. So anyway, so
okay, that
so
helps.
that
That helps. Yeah.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. That's a
What
helpful
got me
example.
here? Because we find ourselves in situations like sometimes. Just give one more. This might be a better example. Like kids at school, like back in the day, they would have like say 5 sick days that they were allowed. And then they would miss on the 5th day, and they would miss it because and then they would miss a test, and they want to make up the test, but you already missed a test and you can't make up the test. And they'd be like, but I was really, really sick. Well, let's trace it back. Here, you skip school so you could go to the beach with your friends. Mm-hmm. Here, you slept late. You chose not to show up. So your experiences created this trouble that you're in now. And the trouble you're in now is you can't make up this test. But if you had more control over your behaviors here, you wouldn't be here. So it's just really giving you an opportunity to look at how you got yourself there rather than how life happened to you.
Yes. Love it. Okay. Cool. Thank you. I think that was necessary. A little explanation. Thanks, Teach.
You're welcome. Okay. So let's say bye-bye.
Okay.
Oh,
bye-bye.
no. You got to do a shout out. What about your boy? Alan?
Oh, my boy Anthony Robustiano. We saw him last night. Oh, and Alan. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we had a great night last night. This is a long episode. I'm sorry. So last night we went to go see an up and coming comedian. He's fucking hilarious. He's adorable. His name's Anthony Robustiano. He played at he did a set at Rodney's in the city in New York City, and it was his birthday, and it was awesome. And what's up, dude? You were great. And then there was a guy that worked there. His name's Alan. And I just want to give a shout out because Alan was like, hey. And I'm like, hey, give him a sticker. And so we're all like best friends now. And he is adorable and a beautiful, beautiful being. He has this great energy. And we just want to welcome him to the Going Commando community.
Hi, Alan.
Hi, Alan. So Alan, comment so we can connect and give us a shout out and say, what's up? So you saw the episode, okay?
Okay, with that said, extremely long episode. We just want to say hi to Alan. Alan, Angela was saying all these great things about you, so I just wanted to make sure she didn't miss the opportunity to say, hey. So,
hey. Okay, thank you. Yeah, apologies for the long episode, guys. So, I mean, this is just whatever. All right.
Commando. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for having us, and bye-bye.
Toodaloo, motherfucker.
Toodaloo, motherfucker. Cheese bags. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.